2017 was my and Prada's first year together. I had started riding her to try out in January and then purchased her in mid-February. Our first show together was the Arkansas Hunter Jumper Association April show at the Arkansas State Fairgrounds. We hadn't had as much practice over fences as I would have liked because the weather was really crummy here that time of year, but luckily we had actually been to the fairgrounds a couple weeks before to ride in a clinic. I was still pretty nervous and not sure how we were going to do. In 2016, when I was riding Merlin, I competed in the 18-inch beginner rider division, and while I was still eligible for that division for another year, my trainer, Misty, and I decided I should move up to the 2-foot limit rider division. There are always 5 classes in this division, 2 hunter over fences, 1 equitation over fences, and then a hunter under saddle and an equitation on the flat. There's also an unjudged warm-up round beforehand. So anyway, our first show actually went really well, all things considered. We placed first in the first hunter class, didn't place in the second, won third in the eq over fences, and won first in both flat classes. Altogether, this earned us division champion. Our second show was supposed to be the Aja May show at Harmony and Hooves, and we were able to school at the showgrounds that Friday, but by Saturday the show had been rained out. So our actual second show was the Aja June show, which was also at the Arkansas State Fairgrounds. I went into the show really tired and with my anxiety even higher than the first show of the year, which of course negatively affected my performance. Prada and I were still figuring each other out at this point, and our biggest problem at this show was probably my distances. So we had a lot of jumps where I thought she was going to take off and instead she'd throw in an ugly chip, and on the flip side we also had a couple really long spots where I didn't steady her far enough in advance and then just sort of pushed on because I didn't want another chip. So it wasn't our best show for sure. We wound up with 6th place in Hunter 1, 3rd in Hunter 2, 2nd in equitation over fences, and 1st in the hunter under saddle and equitation on the flat. In total, it did earn us a division reserve champion, but I was frustrated with myself for my mistakes. The Arkansas Hunter Jumper Association takes a break during July and August, so our next show was the Aja September show at Applewood Farm. Applewood is where I board my horses, so I had the home field advantage, you could say. Although, some people say that their horses have a worse time when a show comes to their home barn. Something about all the hubbub and activity suddenly taking place in the horse's normally quiet home throws them off. So I wasn't sure how Prada would react. What I did know, though, was that I didn't want to warm up in the field outside the arena. Prada sometimes spooks out there if she hears something in the surrounding woods, and I knew my anxiety would already be messing with me, so I didn't want to take the risk of having her spook and freak out both of us even more. So remember how I said I was still eligible for the 18-inch beginner rider division? Well, I decided to use the flat classes in that division to warm up. I wound up placing first in both of them as an added bonus. Then we cantered a little warm-up fence in the field once, and then went into our warm-up round. The strategy paid off, and we had a really awesome show. Maybe having a couple of wins in the flat classes helped boost my confidence for the over fences classes. I felt much more relaxed, was better about forgiving myself for my mistakes, and was more on the ball about getting my distances. I mean, I still wasn't 100% perfect and had the occasionally sticky distance or the slightly long spot, but after bombing so many distances at the June show, the September show was a huge improvement. Prada did take off a little bit after the last jump in our second hunter round, just because she got excited about doing a lead change, but instead of getting scared or upset, I just laughed it off. So, besides the 2 first place ribbons for the 18-inch division flat classes, in the 2-foot limit rider division, we won first in Hunter 1, didn't place in Hunter 2, won 2nd place in equitation over fences, and won 1st place in both flat classes, all in all earning division champion. I felt like I was getting my groove back and that things were on the up and up for us. The next show was the Aja October show at Harmony and Hooves. Harmony and Hooves is a local therapeutic riding center, and every year the Aja October show is held as a benefit for it. The disadvantages of the facilities there are that the arena is a little shorter, so the ends come up quicker, and the footing is kind of deep, which makes Prada a little sluggish. So I had pretty good rounds, but it was a little exhausting to have to push to keep her going the whole way around without breaking or chipping distances. We also had a little bit more of a problem getting our lead changes quickly enough because of the corners coming up sooner, but lead changes were something we've been struggling with all along anyway. All in all, I was happy with how we did. Placings-wise, it was actually our best show yet. We won 1st place in Hunter 1, 2nd place in Hunter 2, 2nd place in equitation over fences, and 1st place in both hunter under saddle and equitation on the flat, all which earned us the division champion. Because the show is held in mid-October, it's always Halloween themed, and there is a costume contest parade in the middle of the day. I couldn't resist entering, so Prada and I entered as The Devil Rides Prada. Even though I was the oldest exhibitor in the costume contest, it didn't matter to me. I had a lot of fun with it. 3 weeks later was the final local show of the year, the Aja November show at the Arkansas State Fairgrounds. Now, I know it's something I probably shouldn't do, but I wind up paying way too much attention to how many points I've earned throughout the year versus how many points some of my competitors have earned. So going into the November show, I knew what I had to do to stay on top, or in some cases get on top, for some of the year-end awards. I probably put way too much pressure on myself this way, which isn't good when I'm already prone to anxiety and show nerves. My first 2 rounds were not going the best, and I kept making mistakes that I should have known better about, so I was beating myself up and getting nervous about my points. Prada was also feeding off my anxiety and getting to be more and more forward, which wasn't helping things. I went into my equitation over fences class knowing that basically the outcome of the day and the year all was riding on how I did in this class. No pressure, right? Well, by some miracle, things suddenly fell into place. Prada was perfect and also threw a perfect lead change just when I needed her to. I had a huge smile on my face as I finished the last line and knew that I had pulled through with a good round. In the end, I wound up with 3rd place in both Hunter 1 and Hunter 2, 1st place in equitation over fences, 1st place in Hunter under saddle, and 1st place in equitation on the flat. This was enough to earn us the division champion for the day and the year-end awards I was after. We finished up the Arkansas Hunter Jumper Association show year as division high point champions for the Limit Rider division, mini medal champion, which means we had the most points in equitation over fences of anyone in the 18-inch or 2-foot divisions, and High Point Rider of the Year, which means that I had the most points in equitation classes, including over fences and on the flat, out of all riders across every division. It was a great year, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we can go from here.